Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Bedtime Story, written by H2J1977.
Eldron, tell me a bedtime story,
Faish said, making her best pleading face. Faish was 6 years old. She was spending the night with her grandparents while her parents were off celebrating an anniversary. She pulled the covers up and adjusted the pillow up to the right height that she could look over at Eldron's 4 purple eyes.
Tell me the story of the humans coming and how you met Eldra. That's my favorite.
Kyosho pulled the chair up to the edge of the bed. He tucked Faish in, using his larger arms to pull the covers in around her, and his smaller arms to tightly tuck the blanket around her small frame. Okay, little one, but just one story. Then it is time for you to stop. Do you need to go to the bathroom first? Do you need a drink of water?
No, Eldron, I'm ready for the story,
Faish said expectantly. She'd probably heard the story a dozen times before, but she never grew tired of him telling it. The humans fascinated her. They were so strange, with their 2 eyes and 2 arms, and that fur that only grew on their head. She thought that they were super cute, in an ugly Degruk sort of way. Thinking of Degruks, she looked around the room.
Eldron, where's Philo? Can he sleep in here with me tonight?
Kyoshi called out, Philo, come here, buddy. A few moments later, a clacking of Philo's claws could be heard coming from the hallway until his lithe 6-legged body slipped through the doorway. Philo was a standard Degruk, black fur with chitinous plates around the almond-shaped head and down his spine. His small green eyes looked up at Kyosho, waiting for instruction. Kyosho patted the bed. Come up here and lay down. Philo tilted his head a second, questioningly. Normally beds were off limits, but he wasn't going to waste the opportunity. Philo quickly jumped up and made himself comfortable at Fiesha's feet, kneading the blanket and turning in a circle. Laying down, he curled up and put his head on his feet. Okay, all set. Can I start the story now? Kyosho settled into a chair and looked at his granddaughter's face. She looked so much like her mother, his daughter, but she also had the uncurved chitinous horns resembling the crown, along with the top of her forehead like her father.
Yes, Eldron, I'm ready. Start at the beginning, when our ancestors went into the stars.
Faish squirmed a bit, trying to get her foot where it would touch Philo. She wiggled back and forth, petting Philo through the blankets. She was hoping that he would eventually get up and lay down next to her so that she could cuddle with him like a plush toy. You know the story so well. Do you want to tell it to me instead? I'm tired too. No one's told me a bedtime story in 40 years. Do you know what it's like to not sleep for 40 years because no one would tell you a bedtime story? It's exhausting. Kyoshi feigned a huge yawn, stretching his 4 arms, each in a different direction.
You're silly, Eldron. I saw you napping on the couch earlier today. Eldra had to shake you 3 times before you woke up. We almost ate dinner without you.
You're a clever one, always paying attention. From the very beginning you said, right, okay. Kyosho cleared his throat and shifted his weight in the chair, finding the most comfortable position possible. It was 1,000 years ago. Our people, the Glornori, had just developed faster than light travel. It was a time of great turmoil, difficulty. Our world's resources were strained by our large population. It was decided that half of the world's population would have to get on colony ships and go to a new planet. The closest planet that would work was 800 light-years away. It would take over 300 years to reach with our fastest ships. So, for years we built ships. Some beings volunteered to get on the colony ships, excited by the adventure. Others were chosen through lotteries. Eventually, years later, they were ready to depart. Kyosho looked down at Fiesh, seeing if she was still awake. Her magenta eyes looked back at him expectantly. Hundreds of colony ships left on the same day. The departing. A few weeks into their journey, they went beyond our ability to talk to them. The remaining beings on our world, Truco, went about their lives. Years passed, and the conditions on Trugo improved. We weren't using nearly as many resources, and we were able to come up with new ways of reducing pollution. It was a golden age for our kind. Sometimes, when the times were good, important things are forgotten. It didn't happen in one generation, but over centuries, the history files can't pinpoint exactly when it happened. But the last recorded mention of the departing was about 600 years ago. For the next 600 years, we didn't even know that there were other Grolnori out there, somewhere. We didn't know if they ever reached the planet Kerefi, or if something had happened to them. We just lived our lives normally. We didn't really explore the galaxy around us much either. Everything was just too far away. Even with our newest FTL drives, it was still multiple lifetimes to reach anything. Sure, we explored our solar system, developing some colonies on Hugo, our moon, and Aprivia, our neighboring planet. We set up mining operations on all 12 of the planets in our solar system, and some of the asteroid belts too. But we never left our solar system again. Then, one day, about 30 years ago, a strange spaceship suddenly appeared above Truco. Our people were thrown into a panic. No one knew what they wanted. As far as we knew, we were alone in the galaxy. The ship, using some crazy universal translator device, broadcast greetings to every government on our planet. They identified themselves as humans. They said that they were friendly, that they were exploring the galaxy. When we asked them where they came from, they told us the planet called Earth. 45,000 light years away. We asked how long it took them to get here, how many generations had passed on their ship. We couldn't believe their response. The trip from Earth to Trugo, all 45,000 light years, only took them a minute.
Vaish piped up. It's because of the wormhole drives. We learned about them in school last month. My teacher said that the humans were crazy for creating a technology that let them rip holes in space and then travel through them. But she also said that they were very smart. No one else in the galaxy has ever figured out how to do it.
Kyoshi smiled. He was so proud of his granddaughter. She was so smart. I thought I was telling you the story, Fiash. Are you sure you don't want to take over? Kyoshi teased, rubbing her forehead with his two thumbs on the left hand. No, okay, I'll continue. After a few days of negotiating, they were given permission to land and meet with a delegation, a group of our most important leaders and scientists. I was working as an intern for Dr. Doro Faveric, the most influential physicist of the time, so I got to come along. The delegation gathered at Clola Point Spaceport. The doctor and the other important members all sat at a large table, while we interns, attendants, and staff members were relegated to some seats along the walls of the conference room. Everyone was so nervous. The room was filled with whispers and chatter. We had been briefed on how to interact with humans. We'd seen hollows of what they looked like, so very different from us. 2 eyes, 2 arms, 5 fingers on each hand, with only 1 thumb. No chitinous horns, plates, or ridges, just smooth skin in varying colors. We knew that the males and females looked very different. Males were typically taller, heavier, and bulkier. They sometimes grew hair on their faces as well as their head. Their females were smaller, sleeker, and curvier, and only had hair on the top of their heads. We were told that they liked to shake hands as part of their greeting rituals, and that they liked to bare their teeth in a smile as part of a greeting. It didn't matter. When they first walked in, we stood there dumbstruck for a moment. The people they considered average height were full head taller than the tallest of representatives. They were almost twice our width on average, too. But due to their lack of natural armor or defenses, their average male was only slightly heavier than any of us. The first time you see one of them smile and show you all of those strange, flat, white teeth, it's unnerving. But once they started talking, it's like someone filled the room with a sedative gas. We found their tone soothing, and they were so friendly and polite. They masterfully engaged in even most difficult and standoffish members of our delegation. I was so wrapped up in the sight and sound of them that I actually missed most of what they said. But I did hear them say something about having a surprise for us, as that made me curious.
That's when you saw... sorry, Aldron, I got excited. I didn't mean to interrupt again.
They shmined, blocking her mouthparts, and looked back at Kyosho, waiting for him to continue. That's okay, Fiash. That is my favorite part of the story, too, Kyosho said sweetly. Where was I? I think we had just sent half of the population to Karefi. Kyoshi teased Fiash, waiting for her to react. No? Oh, right. We were meeting the humans for the first time. He winked with his left eyes and carried on. That's when the door to the conference room opened again. It was like the atmosphere was sucked out of the room all at once. A few of the aides actually passed out because, as we sat there meeting these aliens, interacting with these humans, another group of beings walked into the conference room. Beings that looked exactly like us. They were the Granori that left for Karefi, but we didn't know that. We had forgotten. But they hadn't. They still told stories of their home world, so far away, basically unreachable across the vastness of space. Their leader began talking, explaining how they had met the humans and formed an alliance with them, how they had given them the coordinates for Drugo, asking to be brought along, to be able to revisit their ancestral home. It was about that time that I stopped listening again, not because I found them boring, but because one of the visiting Grolnori caught my attention. She was apparently an aide or an intern like me, because she was at the back of the room and didn't speak. But she didn't need to. She was the most beautiful being I had ever seen, her plates glistening like star drops. Her eyes were a beautiful pink that I had ever seen. I don't think I heard another word of the meeting until we adjourned, almost 4 hours later. Dr. Fevereg had to throw a data chit at me to get my attention. I took the data cubes he wanted me to carry and excused myself. I nearly got fired over that. He was so angry that I abandoned him, but I didn't care. I walked over to the human delegation and carefully made my way to the being that had entranced me. I was so nervous I almost regurgitated, but I worked up my courage and introduced myself. She was so friendly, and her voice curled its way around my ear membranes, sweet as Java nectar and as melodic as a Pluco bug's nightly call. I knew from that very moment that I had found the being I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. But to hear your Aldra tell it, she practically had to drag me to the joining ceremony 3 years later. Kyoshi looked over to Fiash, who appeared to be sleeping peacefully. He quietly got up, put the chair back where it belonged, and crept to the door. He almost shut the door before remembering Viola was lying on the bed and may want out during the night. Quietly, under his breath, he said, "Good night, my little heart." As he started to walk to his own bedroom, he was interrupted.
Aldron, can I have some water, please?
End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrakal, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's sister, Ambrose Cattell, and Quantum Wednesday. Thank you very much.